What's up, everyone? Today I'm going to do a off the top of my head video, no script or planning, just in response to something that came up in some social media comments, some bullshit I posted recently. And that is the definition of masculinity, the problem with it, and the definition I use instead. So for some reason it didn't occur to me until like recently to go online and look up the definition of masculinity. So let's have a look at what we've got here. The Google promoting themselves definition is qualities or attributes regarded as characteristic of men. So regarded as characteristic, regarded by whom it doesn't seem to say. Handsome, muscled, and driven. He's a prime example of masculinity. There's an example there. Social expectations of being a man. Like there's one massive global society and there isn't thousands or perhaps even millions of different cultures. I mean, cultures can change village to village, so I don't know what social expectations they're referring to. Roles, behaviors, and attitudes that are considered appropriate for boys and men in a given society. Now, what's really interesting is I searched for this. I'm searching for this right now, but I searched for this a few months ago and it was a completely different answer. So somebody's gone in and fucking changed it. Let's have a look at Merriam-Webster, somebody other than Google, what their thoughts are. The quality or nature of the male sex, the quality state of being masculine or manly. Just one last one, we'll have a look at Cambridge. They say the characteristics that are traditionally thought to be typical of or suitable for men. Again, thought by whom? Who are they referring to? There's a theme coming through is that masculinity equals men. And of course, I won't bother Googling it, but I can assume femininity means women. Now, actually, when I Googled this a few months ago, I think the woke movement's had a bit of effect on the search, but it was characteristics and traits exclusive to men. Okay. I want you to think about this. Try to identify a single characteristic or trait that only men have. Go ahead, take your time. Think about it. Something that only men do, only men have, that women don't do or have as a trait or characteristic. Well, I've already had this argument with people, and so far there's only been one semi-reasonable answer, and that is rape. Trigger warning. The thing is, women can rape, actually, and rape's a behaviour, not a trait. The trait would be, say, aggressiveness, which I'm pretty sure we can admit women can do as well. So the idea that masculinity is something that's really characteristic of men, femininity is really characteristic of women, is just unhelpful. It's just an unhelpful definition of those words. You might as well delete the words because of how little sense they make. If you've ever met a very feminine man, for example, you can identify him as being a feminine man, but that doesn't actually make any sense according to the definition of the word feminine, nor the definition of the word masculine. So if you meet a masculine woman, she apparently doesn't exist. She's apparently some weird anomaly. And what about the person who can be masculine and feminine within their own lifetime, a single individual? I, for example, can be very assertive with people and stand my ground, but you should see me with my daughter. I'm like a teddy bear. I follow her around like a faithful puppy. So which one am I, masculine or feminine? And if I'm both, then what the hell do those words mean? If I'm a male who's characteristically masculine and feminine, depending on what time you look at me, what the hell do those words mean? Those words have become weaponized by the woke movement, and they've always been weaponized words, really, especially masculine. They've always been words that have used to harm people. And I quite like the words, so I'd like to kind of take them back. So this little rant is really just to give you my working definition of those words so that you can use it for yourself if you like, and to help you destigmatize anything that's attached to these words and reframe them to something that's helpful for you. One way to look at it is that masculine and feminine is like that Japanese yin and yang symbol, hard and soft. And the symbol got that black and white circle thing with the circles in between, and kind of indicates that one is inside the other as well, and they're next to each other and they work together, and together they make a whole. I think that's a healthy view of masculinity and femininity, from the individual through to the community. The community, the relationship, the individual, right? So the community needs to have a mixture of masculine and feminine that polarization to function in a healthy way. And we're seeing a great decline in that, especially in the Western world. We're seeing masculinity being shamed or being kind of usurped and turned into aggression by traditionally feminine people. It's all out of whack. Masculine men have become passive. Feminine women have become ashamed. It's just a mess, right? Then we've got like in the relationship, it doesn't matter whether the man or the woman is masculine or feminine. It doesn't matter who's taking on that role at any given time, as long as there's one of each. All right. If you've got two masculines in a relationship, they're just going to bunt heads, and it's just going to be conflict all the time. If you have two feminine, there's going to be no leadership, no moving forward, no progress, no development, no challenge. And of course, if you've got two passive, the thing's just going to sit still in the water. So you need one of each, a leader and a follower. And these people, they can switch roles. My wife and I do it all the time. Sometimes I'm the boss, occasionally I'm the boss, and then sometimes she is. Sometimes I make decisions, sometimes I ask her what we should do. We go back and forth. It depends. Really getting it right is nailing the context. Who should be the masculine person in this context is a question we're often answering, and I'll defer to her if it's her turn and so on. But I'm sort of more masculine, she's sort of more feminine in general, so we also play a general role here. I'll be the person who kind of makes the final decision on stuff, and she'll be the person who organizes and prepares for that decision, in general, but not always. But when neither of us take on a role, or both of us take on the same role, we just have conflict. It just doesn't work, or we don't move forward. So that doesn't help. I think of masculinity as being the hard, femininity as being the soft. Masculine is giving, driving forward, progress. Feminine is receiving, healing, accepting. If you wanted to work on yourself, for example, self-development, you need to have the masculine to drive yourself forward, but at the same time, so that you don't feel not good enough and competitive all the time, you need the feminine to balance it out and say, well, you're good enough as you are, you're trying your best. So to constantly work on yourself, but also accept yourself as you are, you need both of those. If you just accept yourself as who you are, you're just going to turn into a piece of shit, because you're just going to let all your problems run rampant, all your flaws and sort of harmful traits, you'll do nothing about them. Take somebody who's like morbidly obese, for example. That's too feminine about their health. They need to be kicking their own ass a little bit there. But of course, too masculine's a problem. If you always just compete, ambition, drive, go forward, never stop, always win, whatever, that kind of driving force, well, that ends in misery for yourself and others. You're never satisfied, you crush other people along the way, you lose connection with your partner. There's all sorts of problems with being like that all the time. Right? This is the classic dad who neglects his kid. Right? He's out there like crushing it in his career, and the little kid's growing up like, Daddy, do you even know me? Right? That's a problem. If he can crush in his career and then come home and be like, right, let's play with dolls, then he's going to have a nice balance, isn't he? I don't think there's any such thing as toxic masculinity. I've talked about that before. I don't believe in toxic femininity either. It's like saying toxic health. It doesn't make any sense. It's oxymoronic. There's masculinity and there's femininity, and then there's unhealthy stuff, right? And one way to kind of further break down the definition is masculinity is a set of traits and values, and femininity is a set of traits and values. And if you're living by one or the other, you're being healthy. And if you're balancing them right, you're being really healthy. Okay, so to give you some examples that you can work from, some of the masculine traits, we've got honesty, we've got courage, we've got responsibility, assertiveness, respect, at least self-respect. These are really masculine driving forward type values. There's many more we can add, but if you're stuck with those, you're being quite masculine. Feminine, we've got curiosity, we've got acceptance, we've got giving respect, so respecting others, we've got nurturing. Again, all of those are healthy, aren't they? And if you combine them with the first list, and it doesn't have to be a 50-50 combination, within the person, like I'm quite masculine, but it's like icing on the cake. I bring in the feminine as much as I can to kind of counterbalance that. My masculinity can be excessive. I'm prone to burnout and stress from trying to do too much and control too much. Letting go, chilling out, letting someone else make the decisions. These are things I have to practice. I have to like force femininity into my life. And it can go the other way as well. You can be quite a feminine, caring, nurturing person, but sometimes you're going to have to step up and say, stop that motherfucker, it's not good enough. Sometimes you're going to have to assert yourself. Sometimes you're going to have to set boundaries. You're going to have to be more honest sometimes, right? Sometimes being all caring and nurturing isn't going to get you what you want. And you should get what you want if it's healthy. So sometimes you're going to have to step up and ask for it and be brave. The counterbalance, it doesn't have to be an exact percentage, just the right amount to suit who you are and your life and your goals and your values. And when you create a partnership with someone, be it romantic or business, they should be a counterbalance, right? They should be strong in your weakness. You should be strong in their weakness. And then you're great together. You're better than, the sum of your parts. And of course, the community probably should be a bit more 50-50. I actually quite believe in feminine leadership. I quite like the idea of a matriarch. I think the person at the top should be caring and nurturing, and then the next level down should be assertive. Right? You put a third person at the top, you too often get tyranny, right? Male or female. If you put one person at the top who's masculine, they generally just run rampant because they don't have like a counterbalance. The counterbalance is a level down, and at the top of the mountain, generally you don't listen to anyone. But when you've got feminine at the top of the mountain and the next level down you've got masculine, it generally tends to be healthier in my experience and in my sort of theory or hypothesis. So I believe in feminine leaders, but feminine leaders need to be feminine. Okay, they need to be caring and nurturing and listening and curious and accepting and respectful. And then the next level down, male or female for all of these roles, needs to be the ones that goes and gets shit done and is protective and aggressive when it needs to happen, and translates the feminine message into something direct and honest, that kind of thing. Right? These are all just ideas off the top of my head. But key is, especially to the men I'm speaking to, the ones that I work with, it's okay to be both. And you might be more feminine than masculine. Maybe that's your kind of setup. It's fine. There's zero problem with that, as long as you play to your strengths and you accommodate for your weaknesses. And when you connect with others, you look for counterbalances, right? So if you're a feminine guy, don't just have feminine friends, right? Have some masculine friends if you can, right? Get out there and banter a bit and rough play and bring a bit of that into your life to counterbalance. And you'll be bringing something into their life. Like if you've got a group of sort of hard tradey guys and they're all masculinity all the time and some of it's kind of an act, and you bring in a feminine guy, makes it okay to sort of talk about feelings or makes it okay to accept things the way they are and just calms everyone down a bit, that group is far less likely to be full of conflict, far less likely to lead to violence, far more likely to become shameless about sort of the more feminine sides that they have, and so on. And maybe the feminine guy will be toughened up a little bit as well. Maybe they won't have such a thin skin and take things so personally when they're around people who can show them that that's okay. You can just play, and so on, right? So anyway, I just want to throw this out there because I think the current working definitions of those words don't work. They just cause lots of conflict and pain, especially in the kind of woke world that we seem to be immersed in, this 1984 bullshit. So you go out there, you decide for yourself what these words mean, but try to make it a healthy definition, try to make it okay to be either, try to make it nuanced so that you can apply it correctly in any situation rather than being loyal to one side of the fence and being stuck with it when it doesn't work. And I think it'll work out well for you. Works out for me most of the time. And when I'm in pain, it's because I didn't apply it. So that's why I'm so into it. Get in touch with me if you want help with your masculinity or femininity. Dan@brojo.org. And I'll catch you all next time. Peace.